From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Back in the podcast studios in Raytown, Missouri, I'm Dale Carter. He is Kurt Wheeler, and we thank you for being part of what it is we're doing, trying to spread the truth and justice in the American way. Maybe that's why I'm not into the whole World Cup soccer thing, because truth, justice, and the American way. And one of the great Americans who sponsors this podcast is my friend Bob Watson. Get a rate quote from Bob. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Bob is the gold standard of State Farm agents in the Kansas City area. He's my guy. I'll share him with you. 816-229-7878. Get a rate quote. Bundle your home and car insurance, and you'll save even more. Auto, home, life, everything that's important enough for you to ensure. Bob Watson is your connection, and we appreciate him being the big-time sponsor, the bigly sponsor of Dale Carter's America. We do ask you to help us spread the word in this crazy world that we live in. So, Kurt, your job, one of your jobs here is to tell them how to effectively do that.
Yes, I push buttons and I tell you to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble for the video podcast. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts for the audio version. Join us on Facebook and clickety-clack your comments on Dale's posts.
And a lot of you do. And I wish you people who are so critical would actually listen to the podcast, watch an episode. I mean, it might really be enlightening to you as to what really happens here. We are your safe space for America doing well. So when it comes to the World Cup, if Team USA is there in the finals, I'm going to be rooting. I mean, I may even go down to Power and Light and watch and root.
You're not going to Power and Light.
I think I did that last time when the Americans were really good. Were the men's team ever any good?
I'll believe it when
or was
I see
the
it.
Women's team?
It was the women's team.
I did go root for them down at Power and Light back in the day.
Well, I mean, that's even worse. You went and rooted for women's soccer at Power and Light?
You know, I was with a group. We were having adult beverages. It just seemed like a party atmosphere, and America was doing well, which is what's so important to me. And that's really what this podcast is based on. The World Cup is underway, and Kansas City has responded as Kansas City does, with death and destruction. I mean, it started with England, right? They had their stuff stolen. I mean, when England was going to set up with a base camp at Swope Park in Kansas City, my first thought was, what in the world could go wrong there? And the first thing that happens is, 9 people got shot in that part of town, and the world news was out there that all these people got shot within spitting distance of where England is setting up their base camp.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great look for us. And then
I will say they probably could have done a little bit more research on what part of town to stay in, but
I could have told them that. I mean, you could have told them that. Come on, man. So then you had Tuesday night, you had the big match. Argentina, they're the defending champs in the World Cup. They were going to play Algeria. I guess the Messi guy, that's his name, right?
Yeah, he got a hat trick.
A hat trick, which is something I do know from hockey, so it means he got 3 goals. He got all the goals in the game. But that's not the overriding story. The overriding story is that somebody went on a shooting spree along I-70, and one of the people who got shot was an Uber driver who was driving people here from Algeria to the World Cup. I mean, that's their experience in Kansas City, is their Uber driver got shot.
Right.
I mean, and that guy is still at large as we record the podcast today. So we still don't have our arms wrapped around that sort of thing. Just craziness going on here. And then FIFA is FIFA. I don't know if you heard this or not, but the match between Iran and Egypt. Which country do you think it would be safer to be gay in? Iran or Egypt? Maybe Egypt.
Probably Egypt.
Because in Iran, they just throw you off a building. So June 26th, when they play their match in Seattle, it's going to be Pride Night at the stadium. I mean, come on. Really?
I think we mentioned that before, didn't we? Iran and Egypt will meet uncomfortably in Seattle's World Cup Pride match. Oh, I realized I don't have your screen up. There you go. Now you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, and the MLB, this is Pride Month. June is Pride Month, blah, 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 blah. Juneteenth is going to be on Friday this week. We record on Thursdays. MLB players are starting to push back. Have you seen this? They've been forced to wear these like rainbow logos on their hats and stuff, and so they've been putting like Bible verses on the inside of it. And MLB basically came to them and said, "You can't do that. You can't do the Bible verse. We can make you sport the rainbow, but you can't have a Bible verse.
Yeah. Here's this is a picture on the Giants.
Yeah.
Genesis 9:11 through something.
Yeah. So they said, no, you can't do that. I mean, one thought out there is in the next collective bargaining agreement for Major League Baseball to say, look, if we don't want to wear this crap, we can just wear our regular standard uniform. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with that? Mm-hmm. And I've been told that in the past, like Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers, when they had Pride Night at the Dodgers game, he wore his standard LA Dodgers uniform and nobody said anything.
Right.
So now this has become a thing. Yeah,
Genesis 9:11 through 13. It's nothing like, about the gays or whatever. It's the covenant with Noah.
About the flood.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess it's reclaiming the rainbow. So it is
there you go, reclaiming the rainbow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the times that we live in. Yeah. And you wonder why people want to get a gun and defend themselves. That's where Clay Como Shooters comes in. They're on 69 Highway in Clay Como, 816-452-4867. Shane and Herb, I mean, they are former law enforcement, and they train law enforcement agencies right there at their place in Clay Como. So if you've ever been thinking about getting a firearm, we got ours. My wife wanted a shotgun. She's got a shotgun. And that's what Joe Biden told her to get. Remember that? Because Biden's like, you don't need an assault rifle. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun.
Shoot him in the leg. Come on.
Buy a shotgun.
Come on, man.
So she bought a shotgun. So Biden ought to be happy with that. And they're training her on it. So she's going to know how to use it. So if you come to our house messing around, watch out. Because her aim is deadly, and it makes me be a better husband, I suppose. Indoor shooting range, affordable pricing. They are not a big box store. Neighborhood business looking out for the community. So protect yourself and your family. They have the suppressors, too. Every time I'm in there, people are in there applying for the suppressors. Uh-huh. You're a gun guy. I mean, what's the advantage of that?
Well, it makes it quieter, so it's more pleasant to shoot. I suppose there's, tactical advantages in certain situations. Some people use it for hunting. But I mean, the main thing is it's just like it makes it quieter. You can shoot outside without ear protection in some cases, or at least it's going to damage your ears less. Yeah. And it's more fun and it looks cool. And I don't know.
I know when I shot the shotgun that my wife bought at Clay Como Shooters, I had the ear protection on, but much like I do whenever I'm on the air, like I'm doing it right now,
yeah.
I have the right ear exposed.
Yeah.
And I did that when I shot the shotgun on the range, and it was like an explosion went off in my ear.
Yeah.
So
you just did that by rote. You weren't even thinking about it. Yeah.
They were like headphones. I didn't look at it as ear suppression or whatever sound suppression. I looked at it as headphones. So whatever you need to protect you and your family. Remember, when you call 911, there is a delay. And my friends at Clay Como Shooters will find you the right weapon, get you trained on it so you can defend your family. 816-452-4867. Again, they're on 69 Highway in Clay Como. And when you go see those folks, tell them that we sent you here from the podcast.
Tremendous people.
Much like we ask you to do that with Kirk Doris. If you're 65, about to be 65, somebody in your family is, the big M is coming your way, and that's Medicare. Medicare Simplified KC. That's what Kirk Doris spends all day working on. Every time Congress passes a new law, it changes Medicare. It changes what part, what plan, and then there's you. I mean, everybody's an individual here. Plus, you've got to get a supplemental package. Which one? What's the best deal for you? That's where Kirk comes in, and you don't pay him, the insurance companies do. 816-701-6661. You'll find him on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Decades of experience making the complicated Medicare simple. Thus the name of the company, Medicare Simplified KC. MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. They're on Nolan Road in Independence. If you can't go to him for the meeting, he'll arrange to come to you because he is a great guy.
Tremendous people.
So you played a couple of, actually the same clip of Donald Trump. So let me move into the next segment here and tell you that in case you were wondering, TDS is alive and well. Live and well. I had an exchange, and I'm not going to say his name, even though I could, because he just ran unsuccessfully for Congress. He lost in the nomination. and he is a former radio personality in Kansas City. Folks in Kansas City would know the name if I said it, but I'm not going to. I had a conversation with him because I went to his page, and he was just ranting and raving like a lunatic. F Trump, F that, F you if you voted for Trump, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, I know this guy. He can be reasonable. What is the deal here? And I went back to our exchanges. You know, you can go back to your messages with people. And the last exchange we had was in 2015, right? So 11 years ago. And we were talking about Sandy Hook. And the last thing that he tells me is, there are good people on each side of the political spectrum. I hate the ones that give each side a bad name. His words, not mine, right? And so I went back at him and I said, 10 years ago, you sent me this. I just read your comment that I took as F you to me because I voted for Trump. That was 10 years ago, before Trump. F Trump. F Joe Rogan. F the white trash that now sits in the White House. Blah, blah, blah. How low do you go, Dale? Apparently pretty low. And if the shoe fits, wear it. Really?
If the shoe fit, I don't understand the shoe fits thing.
So I said, so all 77 million of us who didn't vote for Kamala are the same in your eyes. Own it. You voted for a pedophile who raped young girls repeatedly. I mean, he just goes on and on and on like this. I'm not going to read all this. And I said, well, thanks for the revelation. I need to free up some friend space. Enjoy your shrinking circle of fellow TDS sufferers. Because I can only imagine people like my former co-host on the morning show and this guy sit around. I hate Trump. I hate Trump worse. I hate Trump worse than you do. I hate Trump infinity. I mean, where does it end? Where does it end? And then the rhetoric that these people, throw out there, it leads to that dangerous plot that was uncovered by the FBI. I mean, that's a real thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I put on our podcast page, I said, I cannot personally believe that there is a reasonable Democrat who would like to see, even if you don't like the event. I'm not a UFC guy. I could just scroll right past it. I don't need to see any of that stuff. But even if we had a Democrat in there and they were having their Pride Festival or whatever Biden did with that Juneteenth thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
You had the people in drag, the shimmering dress on the guy with a beard who was dressed like a woman.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that or get that out of my head. I still wouldn't want to see drones go in there and blow stuff up and funnel people out the South Gate and have snipers ready to kill them. But there are people on the left who would cheer that.
Yeah. Even if it was privately, I mean, they may pay lip service to not wanting violence, but I think in private, a lot of people, secretly would be in favor of that. Sadly,
I can only speak for myself. You can speak for yourself, but I've lived long enough to see a lot of Democrats in the White House, and I didn't support their policies. I disagreed with their policies, but I didn't want to see anything bad happen to them.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Even Joe. I wanted good things for Joe. I wanted somebody to take him to a home because he needed it.
Yeah, take him to the beach and let him sit in his chair on the beach and eat chocolate chip ice cream.
There was elder abuse.
That's what he wants.
Elder abuse going on there. I mean, can we not disagree on policy, have an election, let the winner govern with appropriate criticism along the way? We certainly criticized Joe Biden for 4 years and the policies that he was putting out. Do we have to tear the country apart? Is this just Trump? Is it a one-off? Will it end with his presidency? Or is this the platform they're now standing on and any Republican is going to be a pedophile, a blah, 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 blah. I hate that guy. I hate him more. I hate him infinity. I mean, is that where we're going?
That's for sure where we're going. Yeah. It's been where we're going for a long time now, but it's just the idolization of politics. People have made politics their religion and their idol, and it possesses them to a very unhealthy
And we
degree.
live on these things, right? And you can doom scroll. You gave me that term. You doom scroll all day long.
Yeah.
And you can get really pissed by the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So I just try and disconnect from that whenever I can. I throw things out there, and I do.
Except for when you're arguing with people from 10 years ago on Facebook.
I know the guy, though, and I just wanted to say, why? Why are you doing this? And I think my responses were reasonable, and his come off like a lunatic.
Yeah.
And he didn't even win his, I mean, he's a Democrat, obviously, and he didn't win the primary. He was running over in Illinois for one of their blue seats, and he couldn't even get that.
Yeah. Well, it's a testament, though, I think, to how much has happened in the last 10 years or 11 years, however long it's been. I mean, even in 2015, that was kind of the beginning of it with under Obama and stuff, the idolization of politics. And it's just gotten so much worse.
Oh, you know what? We're recording this at 11 o'clock on Thursday. They are opening the Obama Presidential Center today.
The trash can?
I think, yeah. We should try and Skype that. It's Obama.org. I know I know Bush is going to be there, Clinton, Biden, a cast of thousands in that hideous looking building on the south side of Chicago that is not paid for. And what I heard there was the subcontractors haven't been paid yet. And if
it's live right now, do you want to watch it?
Oh yeah, pull up a little bit of it.
But she came up with a new arrangement just for this occasion, and we are
They have the sign language interpreter.
Please welcome multi-Grammy award-winning artist Christina Aguilera.
All right.
Yay! All right. Well, that's enough of that.
If she's gonna sing, we might get a copyright strike. So.
Yeah, let's just get out of that then. She's walking to the deal there. But anyway,
where's the trash can? I don't see it.
It's probably behind the tent, or maybe on the other side.
Look at this guy with the glasses and the mustache. He's ready to do the sign language.
The sign language. Will he do like the motion?
Yeah, that annoys me so much, by the way. Have we talked about this, the sign language thing? It's pure pandering. It's pure pandering. Like, do you not know that closed captions exist?
Yeah.
That subtitles exist? They have they take up this whole part of the screen with this guy and then you just end up looking at him. It's like, dude, go away. Anyways.
All right. So that's going on. The subcontractors haven't been paid from what I hear. And if this thing defaults like it looks like it might, it falls in the lap of the city of Chicago. They're going to have to pay for it, which is incredible. Okay, so
so you're saying that something associated with President Obama would go over budget and
be underfunded? I know, shocking. So one place that we're never going to agree with Democrats, we applaud success. They look to penalize it. It's all in their language. When somebody like Elon Musk, who works his ass off, who starts this company, he's an entrepreneur. He's constantly working on the next big thing, and he puts out an IPO, and effectively, on paper, he becomes the first trillionaire. I mean, we applaud that. That's nice. And the people who work for him at the company with their stock options, he created over 400 millionaires on IPO day. Democrats look at that as a threat. All right. And predictably, they're throwing out there. I mean, that's why we have the playbook, because they always go back to it. And play number 2 is somebody has something that you don't have, and that's not fair. Cue Elizabeth Warren.
Elon Musk is officially the world's first trillionaire. Think about that. We're living at a time when more and more people are just hanging on by their fingernails to survive in this economy. And Elon Musk has more money and more wealth than anyone in human history. I want to be clear. This is not just some fluke. It is a feature of a rigged economy. Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill cut healthcare for millions of Americans to give guys like Elon bigger tax breaks. The tax code rewards CEOs for firing workers and replacing them with AI. Loopholes have allowed Jeff Bezos to pay an effective tax rate lower than a Boston public school teacher. And we are left with a country where a handful of billionaires at the top pop champagne in their $300 million yachts, while working people take on even more shifts to try to pay off their student loan debt. The top 1% of U.S. earners now have more wealth than the entire middle class. We need to overhaul our tax code. We need a wealth tax. And it's about time that corporations paid their fair share. Today's marker should be a wake-up call that enough is enough.
Pay your fair share.
Time to make change.
God.
What's the first thing that you notice about this video? I just want to, what's your immediate first reaction take to that?
Somebody else is driving?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's got a driver. She's sitting in the back seat.
She's having her personal driver drive her in her fancy SUV while complaining about other people's money.
Democrats always have the answer too. Anybody who is successful at anything, we got to tax it. We got to take more of their money, swirl it around in the swamp that is DC, and then dole it out how we think that you ought to have it. I mean, where to start on this? The money's not real. You know that, right? He doesn't have $1 trillion. It's
like
not real.
Liquid, yeah. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have a safe with $1 trillion and $100 bills in it.
It's the value of his company based on the IPO. Investors who think that he's really smart and is on to the next big thing, they are buying his stock. And the value could go down. Probably will come off of its highs. And then they want you to believe that wealth is a zero-sum game. If Elon has this much money, you have this much money. And that's not true. It's not a zero-sum game, okay? There's not a finite number of millionaires, billionaires, and even trillionaires. We have the first one with Elon Musk. It doesn't mean that the next person can't come along and get it done. They should be celebrating this. As we're looking at Juneteenth this weekend, here's an African American who is the only trillionaire.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Why aren't they celebrating this? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just such a simplistic way of looking at it. Like, well, X amount of money equals bad, or X amount of money equals good. It's like, okay, like, what is he doing with it? You know, I mean, if somebody makes $1 trillion, you know, on, you know, spying on the American people or something like that, then yeah, that's bad. And, you know, Elon is tangentially tied to some of that stuff for sure, you know, so it's not just good or just bad, but like, you know, the idea of the amount of money itself is bad, and therefore we need to take away their money because they have too much. I mean, that's just communist gobbledygook.
Of course it is.
But to say like, well, what are they doing with the money? How can, you know, what are they actually contributing to society? What is the system that's in place in order to encourage success and to create equal opportunities for all people and all that kind of stuff? I mean, that's perfectly fine to have that conversation, but to just say more money equals bad, you know, that's just low IQ garbage.
Well, and, you know, I know we have the Elizabeth Warren video there, but I would say, and the balls on these congressional people. When a president gets elected, there are so many different rules for the presidency and Congress. Because of an amendment, the president can only serve 2 terms. Congress, unlimited. They can be there 50 years. Some of them have been there 50 years. The president has to take whatever wealth he has, and Donald Trump came to the presidency as a billionaire. He's not allowed to trade his own stuff. He has to put that in trust for somebody else to deal with, a blind trust. He's not allowed to do any of that stuff. Do you think Congress has that rule? Absolutely not. I mean, you know, there's so many rumors and scuttlebutt out there about how Nancy Pelosi did this and did that. But the bottom line is there are no rules on Congress. And it really, if you think about it, you want to talk about wealth. These people make about $170,000 a year as a member of Congress. That may sound like a lot of money to somebody who doesn't make that, but let me put that in terms like this. You have to maintain a residence in D.C. and your residence at home. So you got to have 2 homes, right? There are a lot of expenses that come with that, and you would be shocked how fast that 6-figure salary goes.
Well, I'm genuinely curious about this. I don't know. I mean, are some of those costs covered? Like, are there travel expenses, their housing in DC? Like, do they get
definitely not that.
Do they get an additional stipend for any of that stuff?
No.
Not for travel, not for...
They may for travel. Travel back and forth to the district may be covered, but the households definitely not.
Gotcha.
That's why, you know, John Kennedy had a deal about that, about how he found the lowest cost place he could find in D.C. Hell, Alford was sleeping in his office when he first got there.
That's right, yeah.
So, no, that's not covered. But yet, Biden came out of the Senate a multi-millionaire with multiple residences. Nancy Pelosi could buy and sell California at this point. I mean, it makes me cringe when I hear them talk about punishing success from people who are successful, who take a risk, who get off their ass and get out there and do something, because you've got people in this country who want to sit around and play video games all day and eat nachos and expect to get the same benefit.
Right.
And then when you look at this country, and we've got a lot of visitors coming from very poor countries, and they look at our poor people and they're like, wow, your poor people do a whole lot better than our poor people do.
Right. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren's net worth is estimated at $12 million.
Yeah, where'd she get that? Why isn't anybody asking that question?
Which, like, what they'll say is, well, you know, $12 million is a lot less than $1 trillion.
Okay.
But, like, that's just moving the goalposts, because it's like I pointed this out with Bernie Sanders back in 2016. He used to say, the millionaires and the billionaires. And now he just says the billionaires, because guess what? He became a millionaire. So he doesn't say that anymore.
Exactly. And he probably has somebody driving him around so that he can do videos in the backseat of a car. So a lot of, we like to point out hypocrisy like this on the podcast. I'll tell you a guy who will take good care of you if you just want some good old pizza, and that's my friend Jim Dingman at Funhouse Pizza. He's got 2 locations, 50 Highway in Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Fantastic place to have a birthday party, anniversary party, team meeting. You just want to take the kids out for a fun night because they want to play some video games and ride some rides and all that. I think that is Jim in that video wearing that funky hat.
Yeah.
Is that, you think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Jim Dingman.
Yep.
There you go. I've never seen him quite dressed like that before. And I don't know.
You should tell him next time we host a podcast. Tell him he has to wear the hat.
We want the costume. We want the little string tie, and we want the hat and all that. Go see Jim Dingman this weekend. Maybe you just want to go have some pizza.
What
we got?
Whoa.
What'd you do?
We're going backward a little bit more.
My God, he's got a machete there. What the hell?
The full outfit here.
The shorts.
Yeah. This is what we need. We need the Funhouse Pizza bow tie. We need the blue vest. We need the hat, and we need the shorts.
Only rule at Funhouse Pizza is pull your pants up. You can't go in with your butt crack hanging
Including
out.
your shorts. Pull your shorts up.
50 Highway Lee Summit, 7 Highway Blue Springs, on the web at funhousepizza.com. Jim Dingman, one of our early, in fact, I think he was our very first sponsor, and we appreciate him being part of the podcast. Michael Schroer is with us as well. Michael visited Casa del Carter this past week because I got some serious problems at my house. And the question becomes, do we stay and fix, or do we put it on the market and get the hell out of there? And Michael is still working out all the calculations there. I went to him because of all of the success he has generated selling homes, solving problems, getting people out of homes, getting them into their next home. There's something else you got coming soon. What is that? Is that my house? Have we already listed it and I don't even know that yet?
You took the liberty of listing your home.
Love it. You want to buy it? A lot of bedrooms. It's got a pool, the cement pond, but
this is not Dale's house. Before somebody, one of our angry Facebook commenters shows up at 613 Birch Street in Pleasant Hill. This is not Dale's house.
Definitely not my house. That's Cass County. I'm running in Jackson County. Get a hold of Michael, though. He'll solve your problems, get you into the house of your dreams, whether it's bigger, smaller, you want to build something. He's your guy. 816-373-8400. His cell phone, 816-520-9342. And his email address is michaelschroer56, and you spell Schroer, SCHROER, the number 56, at gmail.com. Let Michael solve your real estate issues. Well, we can talk about the real estate issue going on over in Iran. What to make of all of this. I mean, the memorandum of understanding has been signed by President Trump, and now you got people, Democrats and Republicans in D.C., carping about it. Did we accomplish anything, or is Iran going to continue to be a problem? And this is where I would advise people who think we're licking the boots of Donald Trump to make sure you're listening carefully here, because even though I voted for the guy, I'm pretty sure Kurt voted for the guy. I wasn't looking over his shoulder. We can still question and criticize. We don't have to set our hair on fire and do all those crazy things. We can still talk about this. As usual, President Trump is Well, he's pretty confident in himself.
I watched a senator read that nobody ever heard of the other day. Well, this deal is the same as the deal with Barack Obama. No. This deal is a wall to a nuclear weapon. His deal was a road to a nuclear weapon. My deal, they can't have a nuclear. They get blown up. If they have a nuclear weapon, they get blown up. In his deal, they were allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, he can just say that, but that's not true.
And you know how this is going to go, because he kind of makes up his own fiction, and it becomes like rote. And every time he's going to do any of these press availabilities, it's going to be the greatest treaty that's ever been signed. And are you about ready to push a button over there?
No, I'm just making sure my sound is
Yeah.
good.
It's going to be the greatest treaty that's ever been signed, and blah, 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 blah. But some things have been revealed here. We went over there and we dropped a lot of bombs on them. They pivoted and they closed the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, that's going to be their go-to. You want to screw with us? We'll stop the Strait of Hormuz and watch what happens to the worldwide oil economy. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that. So I don't know what we got out of this. I think it's to be determined. It's incomplete at this point. The memo of understanding is a 60-day period where we're going to continue talking. I would like to think at the end of it, the world is going to be better. But I see so many things that are wrong with all of this, especially for the Iranian people. I mean, we left them with a regime that's more hard-ass than the regime we took out.
Yeah, I mean, everything you could say pretty much on all fronts is worse than when we started in this deal. They have control over the strait, and now we're basically trying to negotiate with them to open it back up.
Yeah,
which it was open before we started bombing.
Exactly.
Them. They have replaced their supreme leader with his son, who is more hardcore. The people are hardened now because we have waged war against them. Us and Israel have waged war against them, so they're definitely not pro-America now. If they weren't before, they're definitely not now.
Yeah.
And so now we're like trying to scramble to save face, it seems like to me, you know. And then the other thing too, just from what I've been hearing and reading about this, is that Iran wants a ceasefire on all fronts, meaning that it includes Israel not bombing Lebanon. And Netanyahu's this entire time been saying, we're not part of this. We're going to keep bombing Lebanon. So as soon as they start bombing Lebanon, it's over. And
here we go again.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, how long is this going to last? When are we going to start bombing them again? You know, we talked about when this all started, this War Powers Act. I mean, what was that? 40 days, 60 days? How many days has it been now? 80 plus days that we're still in this. So now when we start bombing again, and which is inevitably going to happen, you're telling me that now President Trump is going to go for congressional approval because that's what the War Powers Act says, and he's totally going to follow that.
He's not going to. None of them do.
Yeah.
The only modern president who's gone to Congress for approval was George W. Bush.
Right.
Presidents just don't do that. They're like, this is my read of it, and this is what I'm going to do.
Mr. Tough Guy.
And stop me if you can, I suppose. So I don't know what's going to happen out of this. I guess we all ought to pray on it that it comes out better than it looks right now, because right now it doesn't look all that great. Now, but before you crap all over Donald Trump, I will say this, and I'm going to go back to where we were in 2024, just to remind you that, you know, when you were all gung-ho for Donald Trump, what did I say? Anybody but Donald Trump on the Republican side. I didn't want to see this movie again. Yet here we are again. J.D. Vance was a guy who criticized Donald Trump as well. And he is set, I think, to sign the MOU on Friday. Trump signed it virtually, but I think there's a signing ceremony that J.D. Vance is going to go to as well. Yeah. So J.D. Vance was on The View. I mean, he made the rounds. He's written a new book, so he's making the rounds. And I think he's showing off what he would look like as a president. He would look more like a president than Donald Trump does. And I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump turned 80 on Flag Day, and he's starting to look it. Yeah. He looked really tired at times on that trip over to Europe. And, it's funny, the left is pointing out that he was like standing there among all the leaders looking like he was lost. Never mind that your guy walked off over a hill and nobody knew where the hell he was going, right? So be careful before you do all that stuff. But J.D. Vance was a guy who criticized Donald Trump, and people are going to ask him about it. He even went into unfriendly territory. He was on The View.
What are you talking about? We love The View.
First of all, it's been well covered that I was a critic of Donald Trump back in 2015 and 2016. Now, obviously, I'm sitting here as the Vice President of the United States in the Trump administration. Well, Joy, a little humility, actually. I think that when you make predictions and those predictions turn out to be false, you got to ask yourself, well, what made me wrong about that? What did I not understand or not appreciate? For example, I said that Donald Trump's economic policies would not lead to wage growth. They did in the first term. That was actually a major, major thing. I said that we couldn't bring back any of those factory jobs because I kind of had given into this idea that those jobs were disappearing. But actually, Donald Trump, you saw a manufacturing boom during that administration. So there's a certain point. Let me just this question. So there's a certain point where you say, I made predictions about.
They're all chomping at the bit to interrupt him as soon as
this. I ended up being wrong. And in politics and anything, I think it's important to just say, you know what? I got some things wrong, and I was wrong about him. He was, first of all.
So, how Trump would handle this differently if he were on The View, he would look at Joy Behar and say, well, first of all, you're a 2. Yeah. Right. You're a fat cow and blah, he would.
And that would be great. And that would be very funny. That's why it's like, yeah, he's doing a terrible job and he's not doing anything that he promised, but he's still funny.
I think we got to be careful making predictions at this point. I think it's too soon.
I mean, I would just say, as far as I'm concerned, as of today, June 18th, 2026, Vance is not it.
Really?
Vance is a mistake. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, he's going to have a really hard time. If he's going to be tied to this whole Iran debacle, which it is a complete failure. We're just like saving face and pulling out. We lost. That's what happened. We lost. We didn't get anything we wanted. And he's going to be tied to this. So is Rubio. And those are the two main guys right now. So you think that's not going to come up in the debate, in the primary? Well, what happened? Why did you fail so miserably?
You should mark this now and save this for 2028. And if and I are still doing this, because I don't know what the future is.
Yeah.
I know that gas prices have been tumbling. I watch it every day in Blue Springs. That is my scorecard. I pull onto I-70. I look back over my shoulder at the convenience store, and gas prices are dropping. They dropped another 3 cents this morning. It was 6 cents the day before. So it's coming down pretty rapidly. So where is this all going to go? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I'm not in the briefing meetings. You're not in the briefing meetings. We'll just have to see where it goes, because we voted for this guy. Yes, we can criticize him, but we voted for him. Even when we don't vote for the president, like we didn't vote for Joe Biden, we were able to criticize. That's what Americans do. We criticize. Nobody's going to come take away our freedoms for criticizing. That's just what we do. So we'll just have to see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, but you're right. He is absolutely positioning for 2028.
Oh, absolutely. So's Rubio.
Yeah.
And it may well come out of that. It may be DeSantis. It may be somebody else. Hell, it may be a Democrat at this point. I don't know. We've gone both ways. I'd have to do a scorecard on me, but I started with a Democrat president when I was born. I'll bet I've lived through more Democrats than Republicans.
Probably, yeah.
I'll add that up another time. I'm not going to show you my horrible math skills by getting my fingers out and starting to count. That's why they see me coming at the car dealership, which is why Mark Mueller is my good friend, because all I got to do is call Mark Mueller and say, here's what I want, fill the bill, because he's the easiest guy in the world to buy a car from. MaxMotors.com. They're the small town guys, Richmond, Clinton, Butler, Nevada, and the American-made brands that you know and love, like Ford. Like, Lisa Schifferdecker, who is a big-time fan of this podcast, bought a Ford Explorer from Max Ford. So we appreciate her doing that. Max Chrysler in Clinton, Max Chrysler Ford in Butler, Max Chevy GMC in Nevada, and Max Chrysler in Nevada as well. The Amazon of car dealers. You don't want to drive to Richmond, Clinton, or Butler? We'll take care of you. You got this thing called the web, and it's amazing how it works. You just pull up MaxMotors.com, find the car you want, and they'll bring it to you, and they'll do the deal at your house. That's incredible, if you ask me. Small-town American values, the same ones we share: God, family, and country. And again, if you don't buy from Max, Mark encourages you to buy American. And then what I would encourage you to do is, when you've made that investment in a vehicle, take care of it. If you take care of your car will take care of you. That is my shout out on Father's Day for my stepdad, Tom Russell, back in Indiana, because he drilled that into my head when I was a kid. If you take care of your car will take care of you. And the folks who will hold your hand through the process, the people that you will come to love and trust with your car keys, are Christian Brothers Automotive. ChristianBrothersAuto.com is where you find the one closest to you. And if you're like me and you live in eastern Jackson County, Tim Porter owns the one in Independence, and they do incredible work on my cars. So far, I haven't had to have anything major done on my car, but when that happens, I know that I'm going to get a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, whichever benefits me the most. And I know they work on everything: domestic, foreign, hybrid, electric. They work on it all. And just an awesome place and an awesome guy to work for, too. If you got a kid who's mechanically inclined, I've had a couple of those, and they both worked for Tim Porter at Christian Brothers Automotive. In fact, my son Matt still works there today. Call them and get that process started. The process starts with getting your oil changed, getting your tires rotated, all those things you need to do to your car. 816-795-6811. And the location that we talk about that Tim Porter owns is on 40 Highway, just east of 291 470, right in that middle area of 40 Highway where the lanes separate, that island in the middle there. Let them take care of your car, and again, your car will take care of you. Up next on the podcast, we have a guy who is running to be on the county legislature to sit right next to me, and I'd be okay with that. His name is Tony Miller. Tony Miller is running to be on the Jackson County Legislature, representing the 3rd District, which is Independence, Sugar Creek, a slice of eastern Kansas City. Tony is going to face Scott Qualls for the Republican nomination in the August primary, which is coming up on August 4th. Tony, we appreciate you being here today.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're out on
can you believe, Dale, that absentee voting starts, I believe, the 23rd?
For the August,
18th?
Yeah, for the August primary. Yeah, all right. Well,
yeah, I mean, we're headed down the tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually have some experience in all this, because what's going to happen in this election, no matter who wins, we're going to have like massive turnover on the Jackson County Legislature. You have served before, but you were on the legislature as a Democrat. Tell me about your prior service. Where did you serve? What was the environment like when you served?
So, it was 3rd at large, and so it was an at large seat. So there's 6 in district seats, 9 total seats, 3 at large. So I ran at large, and it was Mr. Urbanus, Fred Urbanus, who was one of the people who was around for the founding of the charter in the early 70s, had decided that he wasn't going to run. And so I ran, and it was, I guess the word is comedy, or the ability for people to get along and work together and things. I felt like going into it back then and the very beginning, it seemed like a good environment. Maybe I was naive, but it seemed like we were able to get things done. There weren't a lot of floor fights, if you will. I felt like there was, Mike Sanders was the executive when I went on, and regardless of people's backgrounds or whatever, they seemed to work together. And so that was what was so frustrating about when he was gone, and then when the White administration happened, there was less comedy. There was less people working together, and we had a lot of battles over budgets. And the charter, and I hate to get down into the weeds too much, but the way the charter is written and the seemingly imperial executive power that there is currently leads to and just generally the powers that the legislature has versus the executive. And then you throw in the idea that you've got these other county-wide elected officials who have, they're effectively executive branch people of their own right. So the sheriff and the prosecutor. There was a lot of people trying to figure out who's responsible for what and who can do what. And so just like sometimes in national and state politics, people are trying to figure out the limits of their power and doing these types of things. So anyway, it was an interesting experience. It was a good experience. The last part of it, was a little bumpy because we dealt with, we all dealt with COVID, whether we're, all of us as a society. So anyway, it was an interesting time. And as good as, it was a good experience for me. And I learned a lot. And now getting to run, on the same ticket as you, coming to it with a different lens, different life experiences, different things that have happened to me in my life since then. And then the idea of running for an in-district seat where I can be more focused on the needs of, let's say, Independence and North Lee Summit. And because as an at-large person, I had to be more, try to be more responsive to the county as a whole, since I represented everybody.
Right.
So anyway, I hope that answered it.
Yeah, that answered that. And it's interesting that you straddled those two eras because I worked with Mike Sanders a little bit too, back when he was doing the regional rail coalition and had his dream of, rail from the airport all the way south and then east to west and all that. Back then, we just, especially out east, we thought of the county as this benign entity that might have been, maybe they couldn't do everything right. Like when I moved from one house to another, it took them 5 years to figure out where I moved, even though I called every year asking for my tax bill. It was that kind of thing going on. Then when Frank White got in there, all of a sudden it was revealed something that you touched on is the charter. The charter is so heavy on the executive side that when you get someone in there like Frank White, who was intractable, no matter what the state tax commission told him, no matter what anybody told him, he dug in, he was going to do what he was going to do. It reveals to me that we have an executive that has more power than most, more than mayors, governors, maybe even the president. Where are the checks and balances at the county level?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to have to address. Hopefully you and I will be there together and get to submit to the voters of Jackson County a proposal to amend that document and to put guardrails on the executive, not in a vindictive or trying to beat down whoever it is, because we don't even know who the county executive is.
No, it's true.
Be. So this is not like a personal vendetta type of revenge tour or something like that. This is just trying to do good government and try to talk about. And by the way, I want to add, there has not been a proper charter review commission since 2010. So just because I have this idea and I will, talk about these points, these things that I want to do with it, I think if we had a proper charter review commission, we might get other points of view and other opinions that are different than mine or yours or what have you. But I could never get traction with that during my 2 terms to get a fair and balanced set of people around the table from different backgrounds, academia, community, other elected officials from taxing jurisdictions, have everybody weigh in and talk about, aspirationally what we want in a charter, and then drill down on this topic of county executive. How do we avoid the pitfalls of the past? So one of the things that we dealt with was there was something where you could spend up to $9,999 without approval, right? And so then people were there was just things that would come through for 9,000, under 10,000, and that's not following the spirit of it. You might be technically in compliance if you're running your government that way, but it's just not that's not what anybody wants.
Well, I've talked about the charter review too, and I think that's something that we would need to get done, a top-down review of everything, but a charter review. And then I asked Sean Smith about that. Sean obviously serves District 6 now. He's running for the State House. He told me the dirty little secret there is the executive appoints all of the members of the charter review.
True. And so when I tried to get it off the ground the last time, and not by myself, mind you, but with my colleagues who were of the same mind that we wanted to do, I don't want to go into this and say, I've got all the answers. I want to do it more of a truth-seeking exercise where we go into it. We might have predispositions and ideas and from our experiences and having lived through this and say, hey, I think we need to do X, Y, and Z, such as term limits and different things like that. But it would be nice to actually go into it without the answers and seek the answers,
right,
and do it that way. But what I was thinking about was, so back when Sanders did it last, in 2010, I believe it would have been, it was sort of it might not have been in writing, but there was a custom and a practice where the different legislators would have some input for their district, so you might have some great upstanding person from Blue Springs that you want on this to carry the torch for your people, your district. And then it was just kind of recognized. And hopefully there would be whoever the executive is going to be when we do this, we can have a reasonable conversation and say, hey, I'm going to give you 3 names, and county executive, you pick one of my 3, or something like that.
Yeah.
Now the other, all I was going to say is I know reasonable people can disagree about the youthfulness or not of Mark, but there had been these similar, when there were big decisions to be made, they would offer up, kind of a framework, like when there was a sheriff picked or if there was a prosecutor picked until an election could be had. And that might be considered again to have that type of a process where we could lay out where there would be a series of community input meetings that culminated in the county executive and the legislators selecting a group of people to do some of the higher level thinking on, brainstorming and combining community input about what they want in this document and in their elected officials.
Well, you're talking about Mark, which is the Mid-America Regional Council, for people who don't know that. I have my own little misgivings about that. So
I do too.
We can talk about that.
100%. I just figured if we're going to have to put money into it, we might as well get something out of it, right?
Well, it comes down to the executive, and right now Phil Lavoda is in there. I think Phil's doing a great job. Phil is a guy you can be reasonable with and have that discussion with. We don't know who it's going to be, and I think that's why it's important for the charter to be looked at and look at this executive versus legislative deal that we have right now. In Blue Springs, when I was on city council, when we did the charter review as required every 5 years, every council member got to appoint someone, and the mayor got to appoint 3 because there are 3 districts. So he got 3, and then the 6 of us all got to appoint someone as well. So, it was more balanced that way.
Well, that's because people were willing to have conversations and negotiate. When either side digs in and will not have a conversation, the people who suffer are our constituents.
Yeah. So I wore my Ronald Reagan, I smell hippies T-shirt here because I'm gonna give you a little grief because you served.
I'll take it.
You served before as a Democrat, and I came from a working class home. My mom was part of the Teamsters Union. My stepdad was a cop. My dad worked at Whirlpool, the electricians union, and all that. Sometime around, my first president I voted for was Reagan in 1984. That was the first time I had a chance to vote. I had an epiphany some point when I was in college that I was going to fall more on the conservative side. And Reagan famously said, I didn't leave the Democrat Party, they left me. So how did the Democrat Party leave you?
Well, so I'll back up just a little bit. So when I went to law school, before I went to law school, I was a Senate intern for Kit Bond. And I had, hell, in undergrad, I got a degree in political science. So this is something that's in my blood, something that I love, something I love to study, history and politics and things. And we had like mock trial or mock elections and stuff for our political science. I think I was Jack Kemp, which that's a long ago reference. But in any event, I tended to bend more like you're talking about. And so went and worked in DC for the bond operation, and it was awesome. It was a transformative thing. And so really, I would say coming into the Democrat Party back in, because I voted for, I think my first election would have been George W. Bush. And I think if my memory serves me correctly, I even had applied for some different, when being online was kind of newer back then, and you could go on and say, hey, I'd be interested. I'm going to be graduating. I have a law degree. I'd be interested in any kind of, whatever they might find for you to do. And that didn't work out. And I ended up getting my law license, passing the bar and everything, and being a prosecutor after I had worked for a judge. And so bottom line, how I got into the Democrat ecosystem at that time was Mike Sanders was the elected prosecutor. And so I was, working in the Independence Drug Unit, handling exclusively drug related cases because we were funded by combat. And so so I was working with the drug task force and doing all that. And then at one point on the political side of things, there were several of us who were just asked, hey, would you guys consider running for the Democrat committee? And I was like, okay. So lived in Waldo, and that lasted about 5 minutes because I think I think it was either intentional or an accident, but either way, it was a blooper reel to see us being ran against these entrenched people who had names that were of bishops in the Catholic Church and other famous Kansas Cityans. So quickly we were asked to stand down, but that was kind of how I got into it. Yeah. So, but in any event, I guess we all, unless you're super dogmatic and you're unwilling to think for yourself at all, then you'll just be okay with everything that anyone tells you, right? So I've never been really comfortable anywhere. Yeah. Because I'm always, I'll tell you the moment. I think there was several times during my legislative career where I had pause, and there was a whole series of events where there would be protesters outside the courthouse rioting. You can call them peaceful protesters if you want, but I did not feel peaceful listening to this happening. And the Kansas City detectives, for example, couldn't get a search warrant signed by the elected person, by the prosecutor who would have had to sign off on it, to search cars that they thought might have explosives in them outside the courthouse. Okay.
Yeah.
And there were ambulances and fire that were trying to get through. It was either 12th or 13th and Oak. And there was masses of people out there and nobody was doing anything about it. And I even called people and said, what are we doing? And the answer I got was, well, these are just people who want to be heard. And I knew I was in the wrong place. And then as we moved through other discussions during that time period, it was just the most important thing in the world to tear down all the statues in Jackson County.
I know.
Do I have some great affinity for Andrew Jackson? No, he was a president of the United States. Am I saying that we should defend everything that he ever did? No, absolutely not. But the point is, it was just all these different things that the mission creep. We weren't focusing on the things we were supposed to be doing, but we were echoing Democrat national political talking points and doing those types of things. and virtue signaling and trying to drag the body from working on the things we were supposed to be working on to things that would get people points online or something.
Amen to that.
And so I knew that, I kind of kept my head down and just plowed along until I would get to a point where I couldn't plow any further without, saying, hey, this is enough. So I remember distinctively finally just saying, no, I'm not going to deal with this. We're not going to unilaterally take it upon ourselves to tear down statues or remove, that's not what we're doing. If you people want to continue to talk about this, then we'll put it to the voters and let them decide.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the outcome of that was?
I do.
80% voted
Right.
to say, hey, look, we're not saying we love Andrew Jackson. We're just saying this is not how we're going to go about. We're not going to be driven by national political talking points.
Well, then they wanted to put it on again. And that's when I started the whole, let's set up our own county, Truman County. That was what we floated on the podcast, and it kind of made it its way back. So I want to ask you about this. I was at a town hall where Manny Abarca was speaking, and he's running for the county executive. And he stood up, and this was the deal about the old boys' home that's out in eastern Jackson County.
McCune.
The McCune property, yeah.
I'm old enough that I remember when it was still active.
Yeah. You never.
Behind my grandmother's house.
You were never there, right? You didn't have to go.
I didn't know. No.
So, Phil Lavoda, I think, has the right idea. Let's tear it down and sell it. And Manny stood up and he said, this is the time in the county where we need to dream big. We need to think big and do all this other stuff. And then he's floating this idea about putting a transit tax on the November ballot. At the same time, that because of the prior administration, the combat tax, which you mentioned earlier, I'm on the combat commission, which I think is very important and is getting a lot of good things done in Jackson County. He wants to put that tax on the November ballot. It would be on against combat, and combat doesn't have a safety election here to come back and say, oh, we screwed up, let's put it back on the ballot. This is one and done here for this. And my fear is his dreaming big at a time when we need to drill down and maybe get back to basics and the things that you're talking about, the things that the county ought to do. It might well bring out the no voters that go, no tax increase. So no on combat, no on transit.
Right. I think, without getting too deep into the weeds on combat renewal, to sell the validity and the efficacy of that program to the people who are likely going to be interested in our campaigns, they need to know about the law enforcement aspects of what this does. And it wouldn't hurt if we talked about proposals for reimagining how we could be better stewards of the money. In other words, some of the stuff over the years just looked like a slush fund, and I'm not for that, and I know you're not either.
I'm not.
It's just there does have to be a balance, but what I'm talking about is the pie chart where it's determined how the money gets spent. And look, there are definitely valid treatment and prevention operations, but it needs to be. And we did a huge audit when I was there. At one point I was the chair of the drug commission when Albert Reeder got sick, and so I just kind of pinch hitted during that time. But in any event, so we did a big audit back then. Maybe there's another one that should be done too. But at the same time, I would be more interested in making sure that the courts and making sure that the Eastern Jackson County Drug Task Force get what they need out of that tax. And I think that's a very worthwhile thing. And generally, I don't want more taxes.
Right. I don't either.
But
that's one that's working.
It is. And what I would say about that specific thing is it's because the good thing about it is it's not general revenue. It's specifically identified for a purpose, and so therefore, hopefully, it's not subject to looting by other interests. So on the transit thing, boy, I think people do need transportation, but is that mission creep, and is that something that is better suited for the KCATA. And good Lord, how much money do they get already?
Yeah.
And do they just need to look at how they're using it and figure out a different way to do it?
Yep. Yep. You're singing out of my hymnal here. So you mentioned that that early voting is starting here soon, and the primary will be here before you know it. I know you're out knocking doors already. Tell me what people in District 3 are saying. What are you hearing?
So I think I'm on the lower end of the spectrum for these campaigns. I'm not like, not like a federal campaign where they have unlimited money and everything, and they can do polling and things. But I think Sean did a poll and some other folks, and those polls, people want to talk about taxes and assessments. That's
absolutely.
So the polls say that, and the people say that. And that's what they want to talk about. They also talk about the fact that people out east often feel unheard. And what in the world do we benefit from? How does the county benefit people out east at all? And to some extent, I have to agree with them.
Well, the way not to interrupt, but the way I would phrase that is what I hear is, what is the benefit to people who live in eastern Jackson County being attached to Kansas City? What is the benefit? Right. What do we get out of that? And I don't know that I can name that.
If there's an entrenched government that is weaponized against the people that it's extracting tax money from, that's sort of the narrative, right? That's what I hear. And to put it any more polite is disingenuous, that if you don't do what they say and you don't pay their taxes, then they will come take your home.
Right.
End of story. If you don't, they will send law enforcement, who it's just, that's the outlier that, that doesn't always happen. But at the end of the day, that's the way people are thinking about it. Is this ever going to stop? Are these taxes always going to go up? Are we ever going to feel like we own our home?
Yeah. That's a fair point, and I think that's why that's first, foremost, and probably if you had 5 issues, one is like neon and bold, and the rest of them kind of flow from there.
Yeah.
We've got a mess on our hands, not of our making, not of your making, certainly not of my making, and we're going to be tasked, if we win, of going in there and cleaning up the mess.
Right, and we have to talk honestly and openly with people about. There shouldn't, at least I'm not, and I know you're not, and I hope no one else is saying, that they can do this on their own, because frankly, as we know, assessments fall under the purview currently of the county executive.
Right.
And they appoint the assessor at this moment. Hopefully soon we're going to get an elected assessor so we can bring some more direct accountability to that. But we've got to rebuild that assessment office. We've got to follow the state tax commission order, and we can't continue to use a faulty data set that's built on assessments where there was not an in-person evaluation of each parcel. If you're going to increase things over 15%, so basically we've got to do that. I think people are always concerned about safety and crime and those types of things. And to some extent, we do play a part in that, as we have to be good stewards, and we have to be good partners with the prosecutor and the sheriff to make sure that they have the resources that they need. And then if we feel like that, even though they are independent and they have their own elected offices, we have to be good spokesman for our constituents, and if there's something goofy going on, we need to talk about it.
Needs to be oversight, legislative oversight. That's what I would fight for.
And that's through the budget.
Yeah.
Right. And that's through budget and charter.
He's Tony Miller. He's running in the 3rd district for the Republican nomination. August 4th is the primary, which I know that you're running hard for. I do appreciate you coming on the podcast here and sharing your views.
Well, I appreciate it, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I think it's important as a student of civics and history and political science and things that that there are forums like this and people who care enough to do this kind of thing. Because if we only got our information from the internet or, the Babylon Bee or
No
whatever
doubt.
people are reading out there,
Right.
Then we just wouldn't be as informed. But I feel like people are awake and they're paying attention and they want people to be responsive. And so it would be an honor to serve with you and other colleagues who we're out here running. And, I've told people if we don't have, everybody talks about a 5-vote majority. Well, I'll tell you what, we could do a lot with 3. We could do a lot with 4 because we're going to be reasonable. We're going to work with other people, but we're going to advocate. And even if we don't have enough votes to pass something immediately, we can keep working with people until we get to yes. And we can always use our platform to publicly, out things that we think are wrong. So,
well, I'm sure this is your first but not last appearance on the podcast. And
well, I was going to say, so I keep waving my hands around and I'm like, oh God. So I was hooking my little campaign trailer up to my car and the trailer started moving. And I thought, so it's kind of a reaction. I put my hand out there, smashed my thumb. So it's been awkward campaigning with my thumb beat up because I'm trying to shake hands and a lot of knuckle bumps and things. It's a little
there you go. Fist bump, elbow bump. I mean, just make some human contact. It'll be fine.
Right.
All right. Well,
we're going to talk to people.
We're going to watch your campaign and best of luck. We'll talk to you down the road.
You as well. Thank you.
Special thanks to Austin Watterson and the guys at roofedbyroyal.com. Man, they've had quite the spring with all kinds of storms. And, of course, storms bring hail. Hail brings damage to your roof. And if you need a new roof, there's no better guy to do it than roofedbyroyal.com. In fact, superfan Mark Zarda told me over the weekend that he has a new roof from Roofed by Royal.
Nice.
Yeah, so Austin did a good job for him. Tamco Hail.
I'd say congratulations.
That president, he just keeps stepping on me. Tamco Hail Guard is beyond Class 4. It's the best roof you can put on your house in this part of the country, and that's the roof that Austin Watterson has at Royal Roofing and Solar. Roofedbyroyal.com, 816-540-7057. Get Austin and his team up on your roof, and here's a little secret for you. He's working with the insurance companies to get you the roof that's going to pay for itself, because your insurance rates are going to go down. Your insurance guy is going to love you for putting on this Tamco Hail Guard. Again, beyond Class 4, it's going to last forever, and it's going to protect your home, your biggest investment out there. And one of the insurance guys I know is going to be thrilled to hear about this is Bob Watson, because he's my insurance agent. And when I told him Austin Watterson put the roof on my house, he was dancing a jig. He's like, oh, you got rid of that old shake shingle roof? Thank goodness. Let's make sure that you're getting the best insurance rates that you can get, and that's with my friend Bob Watson. All right, call. Get a rate quote, 816-229-7878, auto, home, life, commercial insurance, the pontoon boats that I'm sure are going to be out on the lakes all summer long. He's licensed in Missouri and Kansas. He'll take care of you. Bundle your home and car insurance, and you'll save even more. Like a good neighbor, State Farm and my friend Bob Watson are both there. Eric Schmitt, who is a senator from Missouri. We know Eric, right?
Yeah.
We've had clips from him on this.
Yeah, I've met him. I think we met him at that. Remember that Ray's Cafe thing from way back? Wasn't he there at that?
Was he there at that? I met him.
I met him once or twice, I think.
I met him at a Mark Alford event. And the Texas senator was there too, Ted Cruz. So that was a fun night. Eric's a tall guy. I didn't realize how tall he was until I met him. Yeah. So they have the annual congressional baseball game. They played at Nats Stadium in Washington, D.C. And the Republicans, I guess, have some pretty good baseball players because they won. They won again. Eric Schmitt, you may think of him as your senator from Missouri, but he was also a two-sport athlete in college at Truman State. He played football and baseball. He was playing left field for the Republicans in the Congress. Have you seen this?
No.
He was playing left field in the congressional baseball game. And keep in mind, he's 50 years old. Watch this clip.
Really a prime June night. That one struck to left field. And what a dive! What a Eric Schmitt. Amazing catch down the left field line. The Redbirds would be proud of a play.
Oh, his nose is all bloody up.
Keep like that. Look at the nose. Wow, and he roughed himself up here a little bit when he hit the warning track on the side there. Now I wonder if Marionette Miller Meeks, the team doctor, might have to come out and bandage him up a little bit. But he's doing it old school there, just wiping some dirt on it. He covered a lot of ground, got high on the horse there. And that was going to be a fair ball, I think, there, Kevin. Yeah, I think so, too. And then he caught that on the heel of the glove. Face plant. Redbirds would be proud of a play like that. Worth every last replay. Tremendous. Gold Glover.
Oh, man.
That's something else.
That was a full-on slide on his face. No, that's cool.
My only complaint, he was wearing a Cardinals hat.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Come on, man. How about a Royals? How about showing the Royals some love? Yeah, they stink, but the Cardinals are in town this weekend.
But the Royals are blue, and he's playing for the Republicans.
Oh, fair point. Yeah. Fair point. Didn't think about that. All right. So there you go. Until next week, to be continued on all fronts. We're keeping an eye on it, and we will commentate as needed. Until next week, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.